Welcome back to Active Sports TV, LAC News. You're now rocking out and kicking it with your host, Active. And oh boy, what a hell of a fight weekend. The hype that was built around this fight, man, it lived up to all expectations, bro. Now, I ain't gonna act like I was trying to, get off the next train smoking and be the first one to my TV to watch this fight, but I'm so glad I did not miss out on it. And if you a boxing fan, you are glad you didn't miss out on this bout as well. Now, this had all type of hype, bad blood between both fighters. You know, it goes back to when they first squared off during the press conference tour. Chris Eubanks Jr., Conor Benn Jr., historic names over in the UK across the pond. These guys don't like each other, fathers, competitors, growing up, highlight names, carrying the sport over there for their respective countries. And they always had a rivalry. So without even speaking or guessing, you will already know that would trickle down to the sons, being that they're both fighters. Chris Eubanks Jr. with a high pedigree, battle tested, fighting, some of the greats out there, Billy Joe Saunders and so on and so forth, a decorated resume, I must say. Uh, Chris Eubanks Jr. has definitely got it out the mud. Can't say the same for old protein. It was the eggs, Conor Benn, but we ain't gonna get into the post fight throwing shade. Conor Benn came to this fight ready to throw hands, throw down, and represent his name proudly. Yes, sir, indeedy. These boys got to it, but I ain't gonna hold you. So just to give you a brief on things, just to fill you in on all of the spectacle and the saga that took place leading up to the bout. We know that Chris Eubank Jr., his father, bad blood in between, dealing with a lot of pain, losing his brother. You know what I mean? Unfortunate events. Don't nobody knows how that feels other than myself. Losing my older brother, a couple years back, tragically. So I feel that pain. I understand where Chris Eubanks is coming from when he spoke on that. That definitely hit me, bro, and touched me in a different way. Now, him and his father back and forth, him coming out in public, throwing shade at his son, calling him a disgrace, not believing in his son going into this fight, basically saying that he will be destroyed, possibly possibly carried out of there, for shorter words. You dig? Which was, I felt, very unnecessary, very excessive, over the top, and blood to blood, having children, regardless if I like their decisions or not. I'm gonna back my kids up. No, 100%, no doubt about it. We'll talk about it in private. I'll let you know the errors of your ways later. But publicly and then shunning you, not being there for you, not a good look for Chris Eubanks Sr. Then on the other hand, we got Eggman, Mr. Conor Benn, who happens to just can't, stay drug free, which led to a long hiatus outside the ring. The British Commission putting a 2-year ban on Conor Benn. Him, Eddie Hearn, doing what they do. He's now back from that suspension, but not at 147 where he last fought, making a huge jump to obviously Chris Eubanks Jr., who was at one point in time fighting at 168, a super middleweight. Um, having to come down to the agreed upon weight they both agreed upon, which was 160, meeting in the middle, kind of being actually moving up two weight classes from 147 to 160, weighed in about a little bit under 160, which I thought was a smart move going into this bout. I think Conor Benn, everything leading up to the fight, I will have to say, from my point of view, led me to believe that Conor Benn may pull this out. Being the fresher fighter, the younger fighter, um, from the past, more explosive. But we're gonna get into that later. And then the history of the sport, where it never really shapes in the fighter's favor, coming back down from weight. We seen it time after time. Greatness, be conquered from all-time great Hall of Fame fighters going up in weight, several weights, and beating the respective champion in that weight class. Where they always went wrong is whenever they decided to come down, whether it was going back down one weight class or multiple weight classes. It never ever shaped out to be favorable for the fighter. So Chris Eubanks had history not in his favor. The overall, the history of the sport against him and the odds of that, and then him not necessarily being focused, playing in the streets. Apparently people were saying in the gyms he wasn't taking things serious. Some people were saying it was a money grab, which lead to the fight night, April 26th. It went down. The battle in the UK, the fight across the pond. The US, we threw shade on it, but we gotta go ahead. Hey, we gotta go ahead and acknowledge them boys showed down, and this is what we watched the sport for. Excuse me. When you come to watch two historic names, two juniors carry on that bloodline, carry on that DNA, you expect to see that type of beautiful pedigree of boxing that was displayed that night that we was able to witness. I will say absolutely right now, fight of the year. It's early in the year. Got a lot of boxing coming up. Shit, just next week we got Rolly, we got Ryan Garcia, also the great Devin Haney. You feel me? Getting ready to show down with Jose. So it's a lot of fights. Canelo versus Skull. It's a lot of fights taking place. Please excuse my voice at the Clipper game 4. So I'm a little hoarse right now. So please excuse me, but I'm giving y'all this content live and direct. Hit the thumbs button if you haven't. Hit the subscribe button. Make yourself known in the comment section. I would love to hear your opinion on your thoughts of how this fight went. Were you surprised? Was you entertained? And were you comfortable with the results at the end? Now, from round 1 to round 12, this is back and forth action. I believe Chris Eubanks, he was able to establish the jab. He had a little bit more nifty footwork, better counters. Conor being more aggressive. He was landing some explosive blows. Both fighters was hurt several times throughout this fight. It hurt so many times. You couldn't count them all. You know what I mean? It was one of those type of fights. It was really what the judge favored overall. Myself, I would have had it a draw. I wouldn't have been mad at a draw. I wouldn't have been mad at Chris Eubanks winning. Would have been mad at Conor Benn winning. All I know is that fight fans won April 22nd, April 26th, fight night. We won. And this is what we need in the sport. This is what I'm loving what the zone is doing as of late. And, teaming up with Turkey Al Sheik and these guys putting on these hell of bouts. And nobody's always safe. I respect Conor Benn for moving up several weight classes, challenging a worthy competitor in Chris Eubanks Jr., who is a champion who shows several times out that He's dangerous, even with doubters like myself and other boxing historians and content creators, was saying that he was out and he was pretty much on his way up out of there. He proved us wrong. So Conor Benn was not in there with no slouch. I believe the best thing for Conor Benn Jr. going forward will possibly go down one more weight class, bro. If you can't make 147, you didn't actually hit the skills at 160, so you're not a 160 pound fighter. I don't believe that's your weight class. 154, it's a lot of action. You still be undefeated in the division, and you can really, really reclaim that's momentum and all of that hype that you already had before the incident took place with the eggs situation. And for Chris Eubanks Jr., we know that he's not going to stay at 160 going forward. But the results of this fight, man, Chris Eubanks became victorious, edging the fight over Conor Benn. A shocking decision because normally the guy on the rise, especially the one of Eddie Hearn's cash cows, you don't expect for that fighter to lose. But with Eddie, we all know ain't no fighter safe with Eddie. No fighter safe. Devin ain't safe. Ryan ain't safe. Anybody over there with turkey on the sheet, and you gotta know you over there fighting for real. I got much, much respect for you fighters because you know what's at stake. And time in, time out, you know, we got a whole bunch of. We're not gonna get in the list of the fighters that's turning down fights, tank, but is not willing to step into that ring and dance in there with them gorillas and them lions and them bears. So, respect to all of those fighters. I'm looking forward to the upcoming fights. Chris Eubanks, congratulations. Chris Eubanks Jr., congratulations on your victory over Conor Benn Jr. Hell of a fight of the year. Both fighters win. From my opinion, the overall boxing fans, we win. And casuals, if you happen to stumble across this, you were actually going to be entertained and get some of what you actually, tuned in for the sport to enjoy. So if you like a fist of cuffs where they're going back and forth, man, and you don't know who winning, and anybody can touch the ground at any time. This is the fight you want to watch. So we about to go ahead and wrap this up. I just want to go ahead and put one note out there, man. Ever since Chris Eubanks Jr., was trained over there with Bo Mac getting in that incident overseas, you see, it's a little different, man. That Will and Chris Eubanks Jr., excuse me, like I said, Horace right now, and Chris Eubanks Jr. is getting him over the edge in these fights. Staying disciplined. You see that he really tooled himself up, added things to the arsenal to make him a more sharper, more decorated, and now dangerous fighter. So I would like to see Chris Eubanks go back up to 168, touch a few names up there, get in the mix again. You can see him with the Caleb Plants. I can see him, up there. Jamal, we'll see. He has an up and coming ball. We'll speak on that. We'll do an episode on that later. But once again, Conor Benn, it ain't over. Just go to your weight class where you're actually, more suitable for, and we should see a way better performance. But it's killers down there, so let's not do what you did before. We want you to have your name clean and have the light that you have right now in the boxing game. So this is your boy Active going to wrapping this up, telling y'all thank you on the way out. Y'all know what we do over here, and know the motto: stay activated at all times. If you haven't, do so now. Hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. Also, hit that bell icon so when Active drop more heat in these YouTube streets, you'll be the first one to get it. So keep family first at all times. Stay dedicated to your craft. Be up out of here. Do this.